Hello, my name is Carter Watkins. I am planning to teach 4th to 6th grade social studies. So in that little realm, I'm not really like specifically interested in any of those grades. Just as long as it's in that little realm, I'm perfectly fine with it. What do I think about technology in the classroom? It certainly has its place. It would be dumb to think that like we can't use any of these technologies in the classroom without it being useful. People that always like to stick to the old ways are just never going to develop new interesting ways for kids to learn faster or more, or to have more fun in the classroom. This is my mom because I didn't want to make this video myself. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Carter's mom.
All right, so the first technology I'll be talking about is augmented reality. AR is basically the little brother to virtual reality, where virtual reality puts you into the virtual world. AR brings virtual aspects and puts it into your world through a second party device like a phone. It's usually a smartphone, okay? Some people do it with iPads, you can do it on your computer. Smartphone is the easiest because it has built in cameras and sensors that work better than computers. Now, what my mom is doing is a specific example. It is the Smithsonian Museum official AR tour, and she's looking at the Orbiter space shuttle right now. And she's looking at a 3D model that she can move around. All right, that's good. Yeah, so you can do that with like a bunch of different things: mammoth fossils, ancient burial tombs, other planes. It's just a really great app that I think would be beneficial for teaching U.S. history, which is one of the subjects I want to teach. The next form of technology I want to talk about is social media. Now, social media is a little broad. Basically, what social media is you post something about likes, interests, goals, hobbies, and you get feedback from other people. But podcasting in general is normally only audio and no video, and it's just people talking. You can see it on Spotify, the iPodcast, Pandora, wherever you get music, podcasts are always there. Mom has a specific educational podcast that I listen to. It's called Philosophize This. You want to show them?
This is a podcast of different philosophies taught around the world.
Yeah, exactly. So it teaches us about the different philosophies of war from China or ancient Greek philosophy. It really is good at explaining how different cultures thought about life. Another good example of podcasting in an educational environment is when I got to sit in on a 5th grade social studies class, and the teacher was using a podcast of himself to read the text that the students were supposed to read along to and then fill out a worksheet of. And he did that so that he could like better survey the class and make sure everyone was staying on track instead of like goofing off and pretending to read. The next technology is bring your own device. Bring your own device is a cost-effective way to integrate technology in the classrooms because it relies on students more than it does on funding. As most of us know, most 5th and 6th graders have phones already. I know I did when I was 11. So bring your own device is useful because it allows students to study at home without having to rely on something like a Chromebook that do occasionally break, and they do forget it a lot, but they never forget their phone. So what my mom has right now is a Quizlet that I've been using personally for my music appreciation test this week. Right there. Bam. Free app to study, super easy, flashcards, other games, makes learning fun. You could also make Blookits or any other game you want to. There's a huge list of them. Game-based learning is when you use strategy-based games that involve what you are teaching, the subject that you're teaching, into its game. So obvious ones are, my favorite is Blookit. It does kind of relate back to the bring your own device one that I was talking about earlier, just because you can use those on your own device at home if you sign up for free. So it's really useful and it makes learning fun, so they want to keep on doing it. Like, even now when we do Blookits, I have a good time, and it's fun. So right here, my mom just has Blookit pulled up on her phone. All right, the next technology is universally designed for learning. Now, all UDL is ensuring that students are secure and aren't left out when you are teaching. So it's basically giving students options on how to be taught and making sure no one's left out because of financial options or other sociocultural reasons that they can't do something. And a perfect example of UDL is this assignment.
Right here.
So this is an example of UDL because it's giving us multiple options to make this assignment whatever we want to be. So we could have made a slideshow or a paper or a video, what we're doing right now. You gave us the option to. So that's an example of UDL. The next technology is adaptive assessments. Now, these are actually probably the best use of AI in the classroom that I can think of, simply because it takes a very long time to make these without AI. All an adaptive assessment is the more questions a student gets right, the harder the test becomes, and vice versa. The more questions they get wrong, the easier it becomes. There's not really any specific examples of this because it's just an assessment. It's just a test. So, Mom, will you please show the example we have? It says test.
Test.
It's a test. It's a test. It gets harder or easier depending on if you get it right or wrong. That's it. The last technology that we're going to talk about is learning management systems. These are just programs like a website or app that tracks educational courses or training programs for athletes. Popular examples of this are Google Classroom, what I use in high school, and I think is the norm for high school, and Canvas, which is the norm for right now. So, Mom, you want to show them all my grades? Don't get too close. I don't actually want them to see. But there we go. I know it said to cite whatever journal article you used if you used it. We didn't use any of those because I already knew what all of this stuff was. The only thing I looked up was examples, and I just scrolled at the top. And then most of the time I didn't even use those examples. I just used it to think of an example that was in my life because I am super educated.